Some bye week homework for the Minnesota Vikings. The obvious thing that needs to be addressed first is the quarterback position. And I gotta say, man, I feel really bad for Josh Dobbs. After his first two games wearing a Vikings jersey, playing against Atlanta, against New Orleans, how well he played, the meteoric hype that followed was insane. Not just national media outlets, but big content creators on YouTube and beyond. Is he the future of this franchise? Get your Josh Dobbs jerseys now. The Pastronaut. It was just getting nonstop coverage with this guy to where I was saying the whole time, I think there's going to be some regression to the means. He's been in the league since 2017 after all. But the rise was so great in the hype with Josh Dobbs that I said, man, I hope for my sake that I'm wrong. Because if this thing comes crashing down, the love that he's getting right now will be an immediate about face saying, oh, this dude is trash, he's whatever. Now, regardless of whether the side of the aisle that you were on prior to Chicago's game, whether you thought that he is the future of the franchise, or if you were like me saying, hey, I think we're going to get a dose of reality. There's the good and the bad with Josh Dobbs. I think I can speak for all of us, regardless of which side of the aisle that you were on, that none of us expected it to rear its ugly head against Chicago, one of the worst teams in the league, really. But clearly a change is needed after the bye. Kevin O'Connell, he talked about the quarterback position and what their plans to do, or at least what he may look to do in their upcoming game against the Vegas Raiders. He said, quote, we're going to take a look, really evaluate the inventory of plays we have of Josh. We got healthy. We got Jaren Hall back available to us. And then Nick Mullins is available as well. And let me just say this. If Nick Mullins is seriously in the conversation, maybe he was just bringing up Mullins to be nice. That is what KOC does. But if Nick Mullins is seriously in the conversation to be the starting quarterback after the bye, the rest of the way, then it's Josh Dobbs versus Mullins. Then just play Josh Dobbs. Nick Mullins, just like Dobbs, we know exactly who he is. Every touchdown he throws, he's going to follow that up with an interception. He is a much more boring version of Dobbs with less of a big playmaking ability to him. The answer is just as obvious as it was when Kirk Cousins went down against Green Bay. It's Jaren Hall. Jaren Hall is the guy. He showed too much promise in that game against Atlanta. That second drive that he had to where, I mean, my God, you let Josh Dobbs play the entire game against Chicago, where I would say, all right, if there is an argument to be made for Nick Mullins, is right now just to maybe provide some sort of spark, some sort of change, because clearly you're getting nothing from Dobbs. You let him play the entire game, start to finish. You doing that, there's no way you can also justify saying, yeah, that second drive we saw from Jaren Hall against Atlanta, it was cute and all, but no, thanks. We're going to go with Nick Mullins. You can't do that. Jaren Hall is the guy moving forward. You owe it to yourselves to find out, is this a guy that you can trust as your possible starting quarterback next year? There is no time to say, well, we'll roll with Nick Mullins. He's a veteran. He's been in the league for however long. He has experience and all this other crap. Jaren Hall. It's as easy as pie. The next thing, or the second item I want to get to, is coaching. KOC versus Brian Flores. You look at Brian Flores, and he has no doubt overachieved with the personnel that he has. He has a suspect interior defensive line. He has an elite pass rushing tandem, even with the absence of Marcus Davenport. He has that with Danielle Hunter. and DJ Wonnum. At the second level, he's having to rely on an undrafted free agent in Ivan Pace Jr. to man the ship with the absence of Jordan Hicks, while also having a guy like Anthony Barr come up from the practice squad or Josh Metellus come down from the safety spot to the second linebacker, inside linebacker. He's had, to put it lightly, inconsistent cornerback play, and he has an elite safety room with Josh Metellus, as mentioned before, Cam Bynum, Harrison Smith, who, oddly enough, is the third best safety in the room. And I went into this season saying to myself, and actually being on record saying it on this channel, that, yeah, they'll improve from last year. They have nowhere to go but up. But I'm going to be modest here and say, at best case scenario, they'll be the 22nd, 23rd ranked defense, 13th ranked defense in the league. He has done his job at an elite level. And you look at Kevin O'Connell, and yes, quarterback is a huge issue right now. You lost your starting quarterback in week 8. Your playmakers, Justin Jefferson, he was on IR. It looks like he's going to come back after the bye against Vegas. That's some good stuff right there. But you still have Jordan Addison. You still have Brandon Powell, KJ Osborne, TJ Hawkinson. You have a solid offensive line. You have these things. I would say much more talent on your side of the ball, offense, compared to what Brian Flores has on his side of the ball. And everything that I'm about to say is simply because I'm tired, man. I'm tired that the ceiling for us in Vikings Nation is, oh, there's a couple of magical years, such as 2009 or 2017, before it ended the season in the playoffs. I'm tired of our Lombardi trophies being, well, we see the national media outlets pregame, they make their selections, and all but one of them selected the opponent. Well, we showed them wrong. We proved the haters wrong. I'm sick of that being our high life. I want this team to finally win a championship. And if you are Kevin O'Connell, everything you do, you talk about you want to change the culture. And I do believe that he has done that. But as far as the X's and O's, coaching the team on the sidelines, everything that you do, you have to ask yourself, am I doing something in this game, whether we win or lose? Am I doing what's necessary for this team to, even if it's not this year, to eventually win a championship? Look yourself in the mirror and ask yourself that question if you're KOC. The number one gripe I have with him, I would say, is the conservative play calling. He does it for the majority of the game, but especially when he has leads. He has his moments where he breaks out of his shell and puts together a wonderful play calling drive. But for the most part, he's scared. He's been very, very much a coward when it comes to dishing out plays to his quarterback. And here's what we're not going to do on this channel. We are not going to use Josh Dobbs as an excuse. Well, these last couple of games, he doesn't trust Dobbs. So what else can he do? He threw 4 interceptions against Chicago. He had to be conservative. He had no choice. We're not doing that on this channel because it's been like this for almost 2 years, going back to last year. You look at the scoring offense for Minnesota in 2022 by quarter. In the first quarter, they were top 10. Second and third quarter, bottom half. Fourth quarter, when you were forced, because you were so conservative in the middle of that game, you took your foot off the gas, you were forced to have to make comebacks. In the fourth quarter, number 1 scoring offense in the league in 2022. Now, here's the crazy thing. They're still doing that, but in reverse order. In 2023, in the first quarter, 27th in scoring. You don't have that scripted drive that worked for you last year. It's not working for you this year. 27th in scoring in the first quarter. Second quarter, top 10, because you have to play catch up. In the third quarter, they're third in the league. Again, maybe still having to play catch up and perhaps take a lead. Then in the fourth quarter, when you have the leads, 28th in scoring. You're doing what you did last year, but just in reverse. You're playing a putt-putt offense, just kind of seeing how the defense is going to respond, and then the opposing offense, are they able to score? And certainly turnovers have a lot to do with it as well. But then when you're forced to play catch-up, then you want to decide to ramp it up into gear. All right, let's stop playing, folks. Then when you have a lead, we're gonna sneak our way with this victory. Is that championship football? Of course not. And here's the kicker. The stats that I gave as far as scoring by quarter, specifically this year in 2023, those stats are through week 8, i.e., before you realize that you lost Kirk Cousins for the rest of the year. This had nothing to do with Josh Dobbs. All the stats that I gave you for this year and last year, Kirk Cousins was your starting quarterback. So I'll be damned if we're going to all of a sudden say, well, Josh Dobbs, it's all his fault, because that's very convenient to do. This is who KOC has been. It's who he is right now. And as scary as it sounds, this may be who he's always going to be as long as he's a head coach. Run, pass, defense, defense, defense. And in this situation, when I say run, pass, I'm talking about run, pass to the sticks or beyond the sticks to continue the drive. If it's not run, pass, it's run, screen, pass. If it's not run, screen, pass, it's run, screen, check down. You're very, very scared when you have the lead. And I don't understand why. Either that or maybe the moment is just too big for KOC calling plays on the offensive side of the ball. It reminds me of Toy Story 1 when Woody knocked Buzz out of the window and Mr. Potato Head called him out on it, saying, "You're a murderer. You're jealous because Andy loved Buzz more than you." And he said, "Oh, I didn't do anything like that. I would never." And Slinky comes out of nowhere. "Hey, we believe you, Woody. Right, Rex?" And Rex just got caught off guard, got put on the spot and said, he panicked. "I don't like confrontation." That seems to be KOC when it comes to calling plays, especially in key moments of the games. So what you need to also consider, not just who you're going to have at quarterback after the bye, Jaren Hall, obviously, you need to relinquish play calling to somebody else. Because, bro, KOC, you ain't it right now. I'm not sure if you'll ever be. And then the run game. Quite honestly, I'm tired of talking about it. I say this all the time, but there was a quote earlier in the year talking about turnovers, and he said, well, if people can't take care of the football, then we're going to, paraphrasing here, we're going to have to find other people that will do a better job of that. Well, after going back to the Denver game, after Ty Chandler had 2 touches for 12 yards in a drive, you force-fed Alexander Mattison back on the field. He fumbled the ball immediately, and that was, I would say, the catalyst for why you ended up losing that game at Mile High. And what did you do? Did you stand on business? Like what you said earlier, if you turn the ball over, we're going to find someone else to do a better job. Damn it. No, he was the RB1 against Chicago. He started that game and had the most carries at running back. The Vikings rushing attack, 25th in yards per attempt, 26th in rushing touchdowns. That's ridiculous. You have 5 rushing touchdowns, 3 of them by Josh Dobbs, Two of them at running back, not named Alexander Madison, Cam Akers, and Ty Chandler. But I have no doubt that we're just going to continue this merry-go-round of giving excuses for why Alexander Madison is going to be the RB1, why he's the best man for the job to help this team win. I have no doubt. But that's something that if you are seriously looking at yourself in the mirror and asking yourself, is Madison going to help us eventually win a championship? Let's say they are able to find a way to pull it off this year. Is it with Madison at RB1? Of course not. But if you're not going to be honest with yourself, then what else can anyone do? The Vikings are also number 1 in giveaways this year. So whether we're talking about conservative play calling, bad usage of personnel, turning the ball over, Kevin O'Connell, offense is your expertise. This is your side of the ball. And it's been terrible. It's been god-awful. Brian Flores has outcoached you this season. You got to step your game up the rest of the way. You at least need to show something. Because I've seen nothing different this year compared to last year. Except in these one-score games, you're losing them. Because you're starting the game off just super slow at a glacial pace. You only feel some sense of urgency. Maybe you feel it throughout the course of the game. I don't know. But actions tell me more than your words. You only feel any sort of sense of urgency when you have to. When your back is against the wall. When you're down. Then you're like, all right, let's put some points on the board. You need to be consistent in your play calling. And you haven't. Relinquish it to somebody else. I beg of you.